Hello, my name is Tony Diaz, and I am a PA HMIS Administrator for the Balance Estate here in Pennsylvania. Today's training on what is coordinated entry, why is it important? What is coordinated entry? The coordinated entry process is an approach to coordination and management of a crisis response system's resources that allows users to make consistent decisions from available information to efficiently and effectively connect people to interventions that will rapidly end their homelessness. Coordinated entry has four core elements: access, assessment, prioritization, and referral. Established access points use a standardized assessment process to gather information on people's needs, preferences, and the barriers they face to regaining housing. Once the assessment has identified the most vulnerable people with the highest needs, the COC follows established policies and procedures to prioritize households for referral to appropriate and available housing and supportive services resources. Access. The engagement point for persons experiencing a housing crisis could look and function differently depending on the COC. Persons might initially access the crisis response system by calling a crisis hotline or other information and referral resource, walking into an access site, or being engaged through outreach efforts. Assessment. Upon initial access, staff associated with coordinated entry will begin assessing that person's housing needs, preferences, and vulnerability. This coordinated entry element is referred to as assessment. It is progressive, that is, potentially multiple layers of sequential information gathering occurs at various phases in the coordinated entry process for different purposes. Prioritization. During assessment, the person's needs and level of vulnerability may be documented for purposes of determining prioritization. Prioritization helps the COC manage its inventory of community housing resources and services, ensuring that those persons with the greatest need and vulnerability receive the supports they need to resolve their housing crisis. Referral. The final element is referral. Persons are referred to available COC housing resources and services in accordance with the COC's documented prioritization guidelines. Included here are links to the Western PA COC written standards and to the Eastern PA COC written standards. Why is coordinated entry important? Coordinated entry is larger than a single grant or program. It is a key component of a comprehensive crisis response and a way of structuring your continuum of care's system of care so that it fits together intentionally and efficiently. resulting in more efficient use of resources and improving the fairness and ease of access to resources while prioritizing people who are in the most need of assistance. Ideally, coordinated entry can be the framework that transforms the COC from a network of projects making individual decisions about whom to serve into a fully integrated crisis response system. By gathering information through a standardized assessment process, coordinated entry provides a COC with data that it can use for system and project planning and resource allocation. Historically, COCs allowed each project to develop and implement its admission criteria and processes, which were usually focused on identifying the people it perceived to be most likely to succeed in that project and to manage its own waiting list. This approach meant that people in a housing crisis often had to find projects on their own without knowing which projects they were eligible for or which projects were appropriate for their situation. Once people were on a project's waiting list, they were usually served on a first come, first served basis without regard to their level of vulnerability. As a result, some program participants received assistance that was more extensive than they needed. Some participants received assistance that was less than they needed, and many people, often those with the highest needs, received no assistance at all because they were screened out by exclusionary admission criteria or preferences set by the projects. Why is coordinated entry important? Coordinated entry changes the way people experiencing a housing crisis access resources in the crisis response system, resulting in benefits for all the system's stakeholder groups. These stakeholder groups include people, projects, funders, and system planners. People. Persons at risk of or experiencing homelessness can locate housing or services they need faster, be referred only to projects that are likely eligible for, get access to projects once referred. Projects. Housing and supportive services projects can avoid inappropriate or ineligible referrals for their projects, better manage prospective project participants through a centralized prioritization list, comply with COC program and ESG program requirements. Funders. Public and private funders can be confident that housing and supportive services projects are serving the intended people, see increased compliance with eligibility requirements, have access to better data for system and project planning, experience improved reporting. System planners. COC or homeless system planners can comply with COC program and ESG program requirements, identify areas for improvement, improve fair access and ease of access to resources, improve data for system, project planning, and resource allocation, and standardize understanding of who will be served. Thank you everybody for taking time out to view this video. Thank you for participating. Have a great day.